the option had
No.
presented itself.
No. And that's actually one of my bones to pick, is the fact that the U.S. roster, I don't know. I'm like, to me, it's a lot of kind of like head scratchers here.
Really, I there's a lot of good stuff that makes sense, but there are a few head scratchers to me. There's a handful, but not as many. I mean, like, what are the big missing names for you?
I honestly felt that Pepe should have been included in this list.
Ferreira, easily.
I would even say over Jordan Morris.
Over Jordan Morris, but they play totally different position.
But they're listed as forwards, and if Jordan Morris, to me, Jordan Morris is not an impact player. If you want a body and you want a name on a list, then fine. But he's not going to be an impact player. Pepe has been an impact player throughout the World Cup cycle. Jordan Pefok, he's another guy that should have been on this list.
Over Haji Wright?
Maybe not Haji Wright. Again, I'll pick him over.
They strike me as the same guy, though. They're both 6 foot huge. I think they're both 6'3" plus.
I mean, Haji Wright has only had 3 caps with this U.S. men's national team.
So did they bring him to play? And if they didn't, why did you not? Oh, wow. Okay. Damn, DPG. I was feeling good about this team, but I'm starting to see some cracks.
Yeah, so Haji Wright has only had 3 caps and 1 goal with this U.S. men's national team. And you pick that guy over a guy like Jordan Pefok or a guy like Pepe.
And Pepe's just turning it on right now at the rough. Pepe's literally scoring goals right now. That is what you want. And Greg left him at home.
Yeah, and it's just, I saw Jordan Morris play against the Fire this past season.
They need to talk to Haji Wright and just say, hey, you need to take an injury so we can bring in.
Yeah, it's like I saw Jordan Morris play. I didn't think he was great. I think, And
why Jordan Morris over Paul Arriola? Landon Donovan was incensed that they brought in Jordan Morris over fan. They didn't bring in Paul Arriola, because Paul Arriola, he was saying, was his closer. Like, the guy at the end, he's not your starter, but like, he's the guy you could send in there to do a job at the end of the game. You know what?
Like I mentioned, if you're gonna bring a body and have a name on the list, I guess Jordan Morris will be. But now that you mentioned Paul Arriola, oh, of course, I would have picked. At least Paul Arriola will do something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if Jordan Morris. Honestly, Jordan Morris hasn't been the same since his injury. I'll leave it at that.
He's still just as fast. He's still hitting top paces. They showed some pasting the other day, not too long ago, and he was still top 10 in MLS.
But he technical wise, he's not that. He's kind of rigid.
Yes, he's grown more rigid.
He's grown more rigid after the injury. So, you're gonna pick that guy over a guy like Pefok, who's doing a really good job in the Bundesliga, or even Pepe, who's lighting it up. And he's playing in Belgium, or he's on loan in Belgium, I believe.
I think he's on loan in Belgium.
Yeah, so that's a head scratcher. And I mean, the rest of the roster looks okay. I don't have too many gripes. I'm still wondering why the hell Aaron Long is on this.
I'm seeing that Reyna might be starting as a false nine striker with Pulisic on the left, Aronson in the center as the 10, and Weah on the right. That gets Reyna, Pulisic, and Aronson all on the field. And I want Weah out there. I like what Weah brings to the team.
The thing about Weah, is he getting? I don't think he's getting a lot of playing time. I'm a big supporter of guys that are getting regular playing time. Like, don't use the national team to try to get playing minutes.
6 matches in League One this season. He's got 5 Champions League matches last year. Weah.
And you want this guy to start in the World Cup? A guy that played 5 games last season and 6 games currently.
No, he played 5 in the championship, 5 in the Champions League, which is
Oh, well, 10. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I see.
think about what team he plays for, and the fact that he got 5 games in the Champions League.
Let me
That's
see.
actually pretty immense.
Yeah. So he's actually, you know what?
He's got experience against big boys.
Yeah.
To me, that's what I know about Tim Weah. I mean, beyond his dad,
Well,
George, being
he
an
has
absolute stud
he has 2 assists so far, actually.
in the league in 6
In league,
games.
in 6 games, he has 2 assists.
That's okay. Point of return. I think he's playing winger. You expect him to, you want him to score and assist, depending on what the team does. Pulisic, we need to score goals. Aronson, we need to. Who's going to score goals here? Pulisic, Gio, Aronson. It's not going to be Adams. Yunus Musa might sneak one in, but
I think. Let me see. Yunus Musa has had, like, honestly, that's one of my favorites is Yunus Musa.
mm-hmm.
So far, he's played 11 games this season for Valencia and La Liga, and he has 2 assists.
One thing I heard that's concerning is Serginho Dest has been practicing on the side. Apparently, he's still coming back from some sort of injury.
Well, let me see. Do I have Dest on here? Yes, I do. So currently, Serginho Dest, he's played 5 games so far in Serie A, and he's played 4 games in the Champions League for AC Milan.
Ooh.
Let me get some full stats here. Out of those Champions League games, he's actually came in as a sub.
But he's getting
3
time.
times. He's getting time.
Right.
He was left on the bench once, and he did play 1 full game, but which was a loss to Chelsea, 3-0. As far as the Serie A, he's played what? What did I say earlier?
5
appearances. So he's been benched 4 times. So, and he was injured 2 of those games. And out of those 5 games that he played in, 3 of them he only played 45 minutes, and in 1 of them he played 18 minutes, and then the most recent one he only played 34 minutes.
Yeah, we're not getting a full Serginho Dest.
Yeah, so we're actually gonna get a mixed bag, and this is what I meant, that this team, a lot of people are overzealous about this national team. Because they look at the guy's name and they look at the club he plays, and they assume, oh wow, that guy plays for AC Milan, or that guy plays for, but they don't look at the stats. How many games has he played? What's he doing and all that? And by the way, correction, Pepe is playing in Groningen. And apparently he's in very top form there. So
the past few weeks he's been, the past few week or two he's been playing well, which is amazing. He got left off on the lineup, and we got Chad ask a question. What about Sargent in that starting 11? That could work instead of what's his face?
Well, Sargent's actually doing pretty good. I mean, he's played 19 games in a championship.
Would you say he's our number 1 striker on this team? So the strikers are Josh Sargent, Haji Wright, and
here, I'll leave it at this.
And for Pep and Jesus Ferreira. Where's Jesus Ferreira on this?
So Josh Sargent has played 19 games for Norwich. He has 9 goals and 2 assists in championship.
Yes, decent.
That's pretty good. That's decent,
and decent's not bad. Decent's good. Like, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Jesus Ferreira this season, with Dallas, he played a total of 33 games, 18 goals and 6 assists.
Mm-hmm.
MLS though.
How many goals?
18.
18 goals?
Yep, 18 goals and 6 assists.
That's not bad.
But this is MLS, so
yeah, that's not top competition.
Now Haji Wright. This season, let's see. Okay, so Haji Wright plays in a Turkish league. He's played 12 games, has 9 goals and 1 assist.
I like that. Do you think he's the best striker then of the bunch, or is it Josh, or is it Sargent?
I mean, how do you compare the Turkish league to the Championship League?
I think the Championship is better, but Turkish has a Champions League spot.
Yeah,
right.
Depends what team you play for in Turkey. You know, if you play for Galatasaray or what's the other one? Well, the other big team, then yeah, then it gets competitive. But he plays for a team called. Oh no, never mind. Let me take that back. He plays for a team called Antalyaspor.
Antalyaspor is a good team.
Yeah.
For that league, they're one of the better teams.
Yep. So I don't know how. It's gonna be interesting seeing whether it's gonna. I think Berhalter is probably gonna go with Sargent starting. I mean, he could go either way. He could go with Jesus Ferreira too, but I've seen Jesus Ferreira. He hasn't done much in the past couple of games for the national team.
Chad agrees, saying, my mind tells me they could put Sargent in as starting 11, and Haji would be that perfect off-the-bench guy to sub in.
Yeah.
And then maybe Jesus starts his own game, and then once again, Haji off the bench to sub in.
So, yeah, so it's right now this U.S. men's national team is a mixed bag because you have guys that are going to start that are not playing regularly in their club, and this is why I meant that a lot of YouTubers are overzealous on this U.S. men's national team. The one guy that really comes to mind a lot, it's 11 Yanks. He will actually get hyped up of any little movement going on. I remember this guy, I think when the whole Gianluca Busio transfer happened, oh my God, he was like over the moon. He's like, oh my God, this guy's gonna be the future and blah blah blah. And and it turns out that nobody has heard much of Busio in Italy or even here. I mean, all we know is that he plays in the second division and he doesn't in Serie B, and he doesn't get a whole lot of playing time. I remember him hyping up Luca De La Torre, but Luca De La Torre, hasn't really. He's been hurt.
I like Luca De La Torre though. I like a lot of what I've seen from him.
Yeah, but the thing about him is that he doesn't start regularly for his club. He sits on the bench and he's injured. I think, put it like this: this season alone, he's played 5 games with a total of 50 minutes. Think about that.
Not good enough.
Not good enough. But somehow, this guy made the World Cup roster.
That makes me question about Greg. And I heard something interesting that Jimmy Conrad said earlier. He had Landon Donovan on his show, on his podcast. Check it out on YouTube. But he was saying that in his mind, this is Greg's only World Cup. The coaches should only get one run. Like, you get one run and that's it, because he was under the second Bruce Arena run. And he says it just was never going to work. It was never going to work. And having gone through it, he's on board for one-term national team coaches. So after Greg, he says, bring on Landon Donovan, bring on Jesse Marsh, bring on somebody else. Landon Donovan still's got to get a job through MLS. I mean, he's would you want Landon Donovan as the new coach for the Chicago Fire and replace the project that is Ezra Hendrickson? Would you take that right now?
I probably wouldn't. Not yet. I think Landon needs to be an assistant before he could coach for a little bit.
I think that's more lateral. Yeah, and while Ezra already has a year of MLS experience, Landon has experience against MLS teams, but his experience was on lower grade, lower USL teams for coaching.
Yeah.
And they didn't exactly they did some impressive feats, but weren't always amazing. And that's the same thing with Winalda. His teams weren't always amazing, but I kind of wish that he was the coach for Chicago Fire, but maybe they're not the best candidates. Maybe Ezra Hendrickson is, or maybe there's still somebody out there. It sucks to learn that Garth Lagerwey's not going to be an option, but we kind of been hearing that. So
yeah. So looking at this roster, so our back line for the U.S. men's national team, a lot of those guys have been getting regular playing time. Minus Sergino Dest. Like guys like Joe Scally, Anthony Robinson, Cameron Carter-Vickers. Those guys have been getting regular playing time. So yeah, I feel a little bit more secure with those guys, being on the back line.
So Yedlin's the backup right back, and it sounds like he's going to be getting a lot more starting time than Dest. Dest's going to be more of a fill-in. And you know what's great?
Yedlin's a walking yellow car.
Yeah, well, Yedlin has his mistakes. Yedlin has his problems, but Yedlin's got experience at the top flight.
Yeah, he does. It just
so we got a backup. Yeah, that's a capable backup.
But then, would you start him over a guy like Joe Scally?
Yes.
Joe Scally plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach.
Really? When did Joe start doing that?
He's been doing that since
Take
2021.
He's got 15 matches.
15 matches.
He's the starter. Joe Scally's the starter.
Why wouldn't you go with Joe Scally as a starter?
He plays both sides or
just right back? He's listed as right back on Transfer Market, and he plays for Borussia Mönchengladbach.
It says he plays a little left back, but he is the mainly right back. So that's cool.
Yeah, so he plays for Mönchengladbach.
He's valued at 12 million. Okay, this is our starter. I think that Dest is going to he's just not going to be able to play.
Dest is going to sit on the bench. So as far as the center backs, I would go with Cameron Carter-Vickers. He's actually a regular starter for Celtic. And I guess Tim Ream. But then people are gonna make the argument, why should Zimmerman should start? I don't know if I feel confident with Zimmerman starting.
Tim Ream valued at 1 million on Transfer Market versus Cameron Carter-Vickers at 9.5 million, plays for Celtic. And but Tim Ream plays for Premier League.
So you will probably have to start both those guys, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Tim Ream as center back, and leave Walker Zimmerman on the bench.
So Sergino Dest valued at 16 million, Joe Scally valued at 12 million. By the way, these are interesting prices. And Turner is going to be our starter. So let's see what Turner is rated.
5 million.
That's your guess, or
Oh, that's what's on the Transfer Market.
Oh wow, 5 mil for Turner. Yep, confirmed. Arsenal. Wow.
So Joe Scally, it's going to be Joe Scally on the right back, Anthony Robinson on the left back, Cameron Carter-Vickers as a center back, and Tim Ream as another center back. Depending on the formation, I'm thinking of 4-4-2. Then that's actually a decent, back line. What do you think?
Robinson's worth 10 million. That's a great back line. Now, the one question comes in Tim Ream. A lot of people are going to have questions for Tim Ream, but Tim Ream's been doing it for Fulham. He's been looking very impressive. Yes, he's old. Yes, he doesn't have a lot of pace. But hey, you know what? Neither did Robert Huth, and he fucking did it with Captain Morgan way back in like 2012 with Leicester City. You don't need fast center backs as long as you got a good pair of smart center backs and they have a good back line that all works together. That's what Christian Fuchs did for that back line. They made it so Robert Huth could survive in the Premier League, and they could get that ball up to Jamie Vardy, their speedster. And Riyad Mahrez, who nobody knew about, and N'Golo Kante, who is just the greatest little midfielder. This Leicester, and that's what the U.S. needs to do. They just need that back line, and they need to depend on that partnership between Ream and Zimmerman. And these backline, their backline buddies, the outside backs, they really got to do their part.
I don't know how I feel about putting Zimmerman and Ream together in the back line.
I don't know what else you're gonna do.
You could put Cameron Carter-Vickers in the back line.
Wouldn't he have a little bit more pace than either of those guys? So it's like, yeah, then who are you pairing with Cameron Carter-Vickers?
That's the thing. Either you could go with the guy that's been playing in MLS his whole entire career, or you could go with the guy that's been playing and you know, in the Premier League at age 35. So
that's impressive.
You know, if you could do it at age 35, usually age 35, by the time you're 33, you're pretty much on the chopping block every year.
Look at Ronaldo on the chopping block. We'll get into Ronaldo here in a minute.
Yeah. So by all means, Cameron Carter-Vickers has to start, because I don't see Walker Zimmerman trying to hold back the English attacking, line.
If Musa and Adams are in front of him, they could, but like they could get undone by Mbappe. Like, don't you
keep in mind, not only that, but keep in mind, this is an England team that got second place.
Raheem Sterling could run circles around Zimmerman, but he plays in the same league as Tim Ream.
So yeah, it's one of those situations that we have to wait and see. As far as the midfield, obviously you're gonna have Tyler Adams starting. You're gonna have Weston McKennie starting. Probably Gio Reyna and Brendan Aronson.
Mm-hmm.
But if I was going in a 4-4-2, that's probably the guys. Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Gio Reyna, and Brendan Aronson. And if we're going with forwards, even though he's listed as a forward, but he's actually a winger, obviously you got to have Christian Pulisic on there.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it's just debating whether you're going to start Josh Sargent, Jesus Ferreira, or Haji Wright.
There's names here that I could get excited about, but then again, they're competing against Premier League talent. So it's tough. It's going to be tough, and we're going to see a lot. Hopefully, we see some magic. Hopefully, Greg's system clicks. But that's the other thing I'm concerned about for this team is belief in the plan. And when I heard Landon Donovan talking about what he was worried about for these guys, he wants them to play with a certain sense of freedom. He wants them to feel that they don't have the pressure of the world on their backs. Because Pulisic, Reyna, these guys are going to be feeling that pressure, but he wants to play them with a reckless abandon, within the system, but just throw that all away and just go out there and play and not worry about looking good so much as doing the job.
Yeah, it's just basically this is going to be a street fight. It's not gonna be pretty.
Nope.
And we're probably gonna have to pretty much go blue collar on Wales and England and Iran.
Greg called Wales basically a Premier League level squad.
And they are. They got good pieces. Obviously the real test is gonna be England. And they haven't done so well the past couple of months. I know they lost 3-0 against Hungary a couple of months ago. So it's kind of we have to wait and see what England team are we getting. Are we getting the one that got second place in the Euros, or are we getting the England team that's kind of like sputtering to the World Cup? And of course, Iran. We have to win against Iran, otherwise they'll make